My name is Torsten Hoffman. I'm the producer and director of Cryptopia film, which is a documentary about the entire industry, which is coming out right now, and this is REKT.
Hello and welcome to REKT Podcast. I am Bunchu alongside my esteemed colleague and co-host, Crypto Chamber. Chamber, how you doing this morning?
I am doing very well. It's a beautiful spring morning here in Canada. I have a cup of coffee. I just watched a fantastic film yesterday, and I am excited to talk about it.
Me too. I am pumped. We have a very special guest, Torsten Hoffman. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, gentlemen, for letting me come on your show. And greetings from Germany. Sunny here as well.
Oh, what time is it there? We're bright and early over here.
It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So, yeah, just had my lunch and things are good.
Very good. Very good. That's awesome. So we are excited to chat with you. Obviously, everybody heard in your intro that you are the producer and director of the new movie that's coming out, Cryptopia. So we are going to chat about the movie. Chamber and I just watched it yesterday. And Chamber, what were your initial thoughts of it?
I was actually very impressed with it. I've seen... I wouldn't say there are too many, cryptocurrency films out there. There are a few, but this is definitely what I would say in kind of definitely the top tier. It was interesting to see. You definitely have, I would say, all the players, at least of a time, in it. Obviously, I think this was shot, if memory serves me correct, kind of over the course of a few years. Is that correct, Torsten?
Yeah, correct. And it has some snippets from my first film, which is 2014.
Right, so you definitely got a good... I mean, literally, I think everybody of note is in this.
Except us.
Except for, like I said, everybody of note is in this.
Yeah, but that's awesome. So before we dive into it really and get into it, I just want to get a little bit of your background. So obviously you just mentioned that this is not one, your first film, two, not your first film about Bitcoin. So you had another film about Bitcoin come out in 2015. Is that correct?
That's correct. So my Bitcoin story is this. I actually wrote a paper on alternative currencies in 2010 during my MBA studies. But at that time, I was just looking at paper money, those script monies, and I had no idea about Bitcoin, didn't even mention it in that paper. But when I then found out about Bitcoin 2013, 14, I was immediately kind of clicked for me, and I'm like, I have to tell the whole world about it. And that's why I made this Bitcoin documentary, Bitcoin, the End of Money as We Know It, in 2014, and it was released in July 2015. Yeah, correct.
Very interesting. So you've been interested in Bitcoin since around then, but how did you said you were doing your MBA. So what were you studying there that kind of even got you thinking in this mindset of what is money and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I've always been interested in finance. Played with the stock markets and just like the analytical side of things and building small models and stuff like that. And that paper, it was just basically self-chosen topic by me. That was a class where the professor basically said, "Look, whatever you're interested in." So that was my interest at the time. And and then Bitcoin obviously changed my world.
That's sure. Very cool.
But in many ways, I mean, it sounds smart, I discovered it early, but actually maybe not so smart, because I wanted to tell the whole world about it. I spent a lot of my money making that first documentary, but I actually didn't buy any Bitcoin. I mean, super small amounts just to play with it. But, looking back, and I think most people just wished, I should have just bought and held the coins.
Right, for sure. I mean, I wish I was around in 2014, right, Chamber?
I agree. And even just the good advice of just buying and holding is pretty sound advice as well. So,
where did your life cross over then from, okay, I'm taking an MBA class, I'm writing a paper about money, to making films?
Yeah, so my business that I was running at that time was specialized in distributing documentaries. So I basically worked with dozens of filmmakers all over the world and made deals with Netflix or CCTV in China or Deutsche Telekom in Germany or like these Discovery Channel. Like I basically was the middleman between content makers, documentary makers, and then the big platforms. And then after working with filmmakers for a couple of years, I'm like, I think I should, I think I can do this. And then Bitcoin was just the perfect topic.
That's very cool. So how, in your opinion, does this documentary that you are putting out now differ from the first one that you did?
Oh, yeah. Well, so the first one was low budget, my first try, lots of stock footage, and it was more like an MBA paper on what is money, in like 40 minutes of the history of money and why it doesn't really work how we think it works. But the new film is a proper production. I mean, Screen Australia, which is a film commission, the government film commission in Australia supported it. The largest TV channel in German supported it. Kickstarter fans again. I mean, the budget is 8 times higher. It's a proper documentary. We have, you saw it, 3D graphics, helicopter shots. We produced it on 4 continents. So it's a whole different. But I think what is even more interesting to talk about is how things have changed between 2014-15 and today, right? And the industry has grown 100-fold. Back then there was basically just Bitcoin. Now there's these million other things. So I mean that is part of the story of Cryptopia film.
So what was your, obviously the film kind of takes a journey through, it's interesting, it takes kind of a 3-act look at crypto and Bitcoin. And so, what was your kind of learning journey while you were shooting this? Because obviously talking to all these different people, you must have had a journey of your own doing it. So kind of how did you evolve as you shot this?
Yeah, I began shooting it, or maybe it was almost like the catalyst for making this new one during the Civil War, like the Bitcoin Cash debate. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, so much drama. Both parties, have kind of different philosophical schools of thoughts, right? Is it digital cash? Is it digital gold? And there's a lot of drama. And I had footage. I had access to all these people, great interviews, but I think as time moved on, that's almost like, not so relevant anymore. It's like it's a battle that's kind of done and dusted. And maybe I mean, I spent, I think, 7 minutes in the film talking about it. But I think towards the end, it becomes clear that this is maybe not the most interesting topic in the space. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think about that, Chamber?
I really enjoyed the like you said, the Civil War portion of it, but it is of a time. But it still did not stop me from really enjoying some of the characters in it. There was one in particular. I believe it was a German bartender. It was
the bar owner or what?
and he kept calling it Bcash, and I kind of made a note. I'm like, it's very funny. And for the record, like we're a funny podcast. This movie has some very funny parts in it, and I don't know if all of them are, intentional. But man, there was a couple of times I was laughing. There's some great quotes from you that are very funny. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, the German bartender I thought was very, very good. I liked the shade he was throwing towards Bitcoin Cash. But it was the other part that I was noticing while watching that interview was thank you very much to Netflix for putting out some German content. Because I could kind of understand without reading the subtitles. I've been watching I don't know if you've ever seen this on Netflix, the miniseries Dark.
Darn, that would have been my first guess. Yes, it's very good.
Because I watched it with subtitles. A lot of times it's just playing in the background, and I'm just kind of absorbing the German language. So it was thank you to Dark for allowing me to catch a little bit more of what the bartender was saying. But I thought the bartender was very, very, very good, and I did like the back and forth between him and some of the Bitcoin people.
So when you were shooting this part about kind of the, small block, large block, what side did you fall on? Did you find yourself kind of wavering back and forth by different points people were making? At the time, what side did you fall on of that?
Well, I have to try my very best, right, to remain neutral as a storyteller,
right,
and kind of let everyone, put forward their line of argument, and I think I have a few characters that strongly voice what it's all about. It's so difficult, after you have hundreds of hours of footage, just to pull those little 7-second quotes and 22-second quotes in, just to make it all work. But at the end of the day, and I think that becomes clear at the end of the film. Look. Everybody has different priorities. Everybody has different projects, and good luck to them. I think as a protocol to back, or certainly as an investment, Bitcoin stands far apart from the others in terms of valuation, in terms of level of decentralization. So that is kind of like where I end the film. But I think that doesn't. You need to tell the whole story. You need to show the ICO scams. You need to show everything else what's going on, and maybe question some of the private blockchain projects to then understand. Well, Bitcoin is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that's what I personally liked about the film was I felt like it was very honest, right? Like it wasn't this 100% pro Bitcoin, pro crypto thing. I felt like. Did you feel the same way, Chamber?
Absolutely. It was definitely, I would say, as far from biased as you can get. Like it was here's the information, here's what's happened over the past few years. Like you said, you touched on ICOs, you touched on podcasts. Like you had conversations with podcasters, you had conversations with people that were very influential in the space a few years ago, people that are influential in the space a little closer to today. So there was definitely a good breadth of information that wasn't, in my opinion, that wasn't very biased at all. So it was very good.
Yeah, and can I maybe add one more thought to that? So because so my first film was actually licensed to 20 different countries. So that film was on Singapore Airlines. It was on the main channel in Sweden and on a main channel in the Philippines. It was on VOD channels in China. So it has a global reach. But nobody is licensing a film if it's a fanboy film. And it's just a promotion of one project or one person or one coin or one investment, right? So you need to have that journalistic kind of approach. And I think I'm trying to position myself in the film as someone who asks tough question, right? So to the maximalist, but also to Craig Wright, right? I mean, we are taking apart things and asking questions, but still leave you up to make up your own mind, and again at the end say, okay, Bitcoin is different and Bitcoin is special.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So, speaking, I actually really liked the portion of the film where you kind of went into the power struggle, right? Where it's, Bitcoin and crypto in theory is supposed to be this big decentralized money for the people. And then there was a struggle with, okay, when those people get power, they end up doing the same things that they were trying to fight hard against. And I think you put some good examples in there of that. And I thought that was a really powerful, kind of point in the film for me personally, where it's like, okay, why do I really believe in Bitcoin? Why am I really here? Is that what I'm doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I thought that was really interesting. What was that like for you to kind of tell that part of the story?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because what you're describing now is like how you as a watcher experience the film. And when you watch it again, you might see it slightly different, right? But I've now watched it 100 times, right? And I've watched it in 10 different cinemas in different countries as well, and get the audience reaction. So I think, my emotional attachment to everything is like so different. Like the things that I now notice in every shot is like totally different. So maybe it's less of interest what the director thinks. Maybe it's more interesting what you guys think, right?
Sure. Well, what did you think, Chamber? I mean, what were your thoughts about that? That struck me a little bit during that part.
I agree. I was really taken the portion of the film that I really enjoyed. And I don't know, it looked very serious. But when you were interviewing, and I forget his name, the gentleman from South America that owns Zappo.
Yeah, Wences Casares.
Thank you very much. And when you took the tour of the mountain vault, I mean, that seemed maybe if you can describe what that was like for you, because I believe in the film you say that, it is said that, you're the only camera crew, only documentary film crew that was allowed in there. It looked very serious. I believe it was called the Swiss Fort Knox, something like that. I believe the vault was called. How intense was that? What was the kind of start to finish for you when you were experiencing that portion of it?
Yeah, no, thanks for mentioning that. That is indeed one of the highlights and one of the most popular sequence of the film, both for OGs, right, who have seen everything, and, they kind of really want to see Samson again, and, all these people. But when they see this, it's like, okay, I've not seen that. But also for outsiders. So I've screened the film with old, private bank people, like traditional conservative people, and they then, after seeing this, I'm like, oh, okay, this Bitcoin thing is kind of serious. So this sequence super important for the film. So the story is this. So we interview Wences, who is really a legend. If you read the book Digital Gold, which I think Nathaniel Popper's book, which is highly recommended reading about the early years of Bitcoin, and Wences is one of those iconic figures from the early days, and very influential in Silicon Valley as well. And then he mentioned this thing about the vaults and the security, and I'm like, no, hold on. Can we actually visit there? And it took quite a long time to get us cleared, and all the passports, security clearance, because we have a crew, right, an audio guy and a camera guy and all this. But then the logistical effort of flying all the camera gear from Berlin to that place, and super secret. I mean, it's a whole little spy novel thing there. But the vault itself, so it's just super impressive, because it used to be a military bunker, which is now decommissioned. So it has all these nuclear grade doors, and it's like you go into the mountain, then you drive down an elevator deep inside that mountain, and that's where those servers sit, right? And the Zappo servers are actually not connected to the internet, and that's where the private keys are held, but not all of your keys, just a fifth of it, because the other 4/5 are on 4 different continents. So it's like a super secure way how to store your private keys securely, if you're into that, right? I mean, I understand the whole discussion about, not your own keys, not your own coins. I understand that, but for most people, they do like a custodial service, and that is one of the more secure, I guess.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Chamber, you have any of your Bitcoin in any of those secret vaults?
No, I mean, the vault I have is, in front of my computer. Just as long as nobody comes into my office, I think my everything's secure on mine.
Well, you're fine, because you don't have any friends.
That's right.
There's
Bingo.
Nobody there to take your Bitcoin.
Problem solved.
That's funny. That's funny.
It's so tricky, right? I mean, I asked the guy after he gives us the tour, I'm like, yeah, look, this is all well and good, but why do I need it here in Switzerland inside a mountain? Can't I just have it in my basement? And he said, yeah, of course you can, but your house can burn down, or somebody can steal it, right? Or you have a problem with your spouse or with your family, or somebody breaks in. I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong. Also, I think it depends on who you are. If you're just a person with $1,000, it's a different story than if you're an investment fund with $100 million, that you store for third parties, right?
Sure, if you're the Winklevoss twins, right? Who was the most interesting person for you personally to interview? Whether that be their story or how they came off in the interviews. Who did who was the most interesting for you?
So I'm tempted to say Wences Casares because he was very special and he's very camera shy. Usually you don't really see much interviews of him. But since we already talked about him, let me maybe pick someone else. I mean, let's see. I'm torn between a couple figures, but who I personally really connected with is Laura Shin, who's kind of like the superstar in the podcasting world, right? And
sure.
She is. I use her in the film kind of like a neutral observer, and I'm trying to be neutral as well. And she's just so well connected and well spoken. So I really enjoyed spending some time with her in San Francisco back then. But look, I mean, all these people are super interesting. Yeah, some of them, of course, want to sell me their story or their vision or their project. But I'm enjoying the process. I don't know. I was kind of cool with pretty much everyone.
Chamber, what did you think? What were your favorite interviews?
Well, it's funny when you were thinking of which one that you enjoyed, speaking with the most. I had Laura Shin circled because I honestly thought that any conversations with her really popped out during the film, but. There was a few that I thought. So I wrote a list of people. So for people listening at home, here's a kind of a short list of some of the people that are in it. So we talked about Laura. Andreas Antonopoulos is in it, and I really thought he came off as a real Bitcoin maximalist in this film, which was interesting. We had Samson, Charlie Lee, Roger Ver, Vinny Lingham, which I thought he was an interesting interview. There's a little bit of Tone Vays in there as well, and then obviously Craig Wright. I think I have
some historic footage of Vitalik. So I interviewed Vitalik.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
2014, and so a lot of these other like Ethereum or Ethereum-based protocols and projects. Let me just. I'm sorry to. I know you haven't.
No, absolutely.
But just quickly on Andreas, right? I mean, Andreas has been doing this for so long, and he's just so good. You could literally. The entire interview of 2 hours is just one punchline after the next. He's just so good, and it's so hard to just choose between what he says.
Absolutely.
And then he's just so popular as well, right?
Well, we've had him on the show, and I felt he was less, when he was chatting with us, I feel he didn't... I don't know. I don't know if it was maybe at the time when you were talking to him. He was definitely seemed to be on the Bitcoin bandwagon a little harder during your film than with us. Maybe we were talking about it less. But he obviously is he's definitely a maximalist.
Go ahead. This was funny. I was watching it with my wife, and she made some kind of comment about Andreas, and I think it is kind of in that sense where it was like punchline after punchline, and she's like, "Oh, this guy he seems like he's talked about this a million times. He's just reciting this stuff and I'm like, yeah, he does. I go, we had him on our show, and we got him to rap."
That's right. That's right.
She's like, "What?" We had Andreas rapping on our show.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Wow. No, but I mean, to be fair to him, though, I mean, he also in the title of his name, there's Mastering Bitcoin, but then later in the film, as we go into the second act, his other book is Mastering Ethereum, and then he talks about smart contracts and things like that. So, I mean, he's a Bitcoiner for sure, but he, like, for example, he wouldn't even criticize Bitcoin Cash too much. I think there's a quote. Maybe it didn't end up in the film because we reduced that chapter by so much. But he basically said, "Look, we just don't know yet what this thing is going to be, because if you're in Venezuela, maybe something like Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin or Monero is actually what you need. But if you're living in the US or in Germany or in Australia, digital gold is much more appealing to you, right? So so maybe there's different protocols for different use cases, I think that quote of his might have been lost in the editing room.
But he was absolutely a great interview. The one that I really liked in your film was, and I forget his name. It was one of the Ethereum developers, the one basically one that created the smart contract, the ICO platform.
Yeah.
And when you were kind of holding his feet to the fire a little bit in regards to, the scam, because you do a great job of listing kind of the scam ICOs that have occurred, through the years, and you hold his feet to the fire a little bit in regards to that, and I really thought that interaction was interesting.
Yeah, and he's maybe the only person, who was not super happy, because, I mean, it is my job to not misrepresent anyone, and I certainly haven't misrepresented anything that he said. But his answer is like 45 seconds, but I just need 12, right? I don't have endless space, and it appears a little bit out of context because obviously his answer is much longer. But it was a nice punchline where he says, "Oh, only 2% are scams," and then the other lady says, "Oh, 2%." Yeah. So it was just funny, and he enjoyed it, and he was cool. We had a beer after that. But things are always a little bit more complicated if you double click on them, right? And you guys know, you do long form content and you dig deep into an interview, right? And then you see the complexity. So I think it's a little bit unfair to him to just put him out as someone who made this tool that enabled scams, because it also enabled a lot of good things, right?
Mm-hmm. No, it was definitely an interesting portion of the film for sure. I really liked that part.
I did again, I'll go back to the watching it with my wife, who is not, she knows that I'm into it, but she doesn't really get it, and so we're watching that part, and it's about the scams, and you pop up like just a list of all, the biggest scams in the last couple years with ERC20s and all the names of the coins and how much money and all that. And she just stops and she goes, "Wait, did that one say Ponzi coin?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it said Ponzi." She's like, "Well, isn't that obvious?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, it is." But
you would think so.
Yeah. So
don't
into
they
that
have a
chamber.
BitConnect 2 now or something like that? BitConnect version 2. I mean, it's just crazy, right? What people fall for.
Bigger and scammier.
Yeah, exactly.
Chamber, what were your? You said you had a list of kind of your favorite quotes or some things that you found funny. So I'll give that to you to kind of talk to Torsten about.
So yeah, there were absolutely 3 or 4 times where I laughed out loud during it. And again, I don't know if they were intentional or just subtly done. But the first one was. You were kind of directing your attention to Roger Ver, or at least alluding to a further conversation with Roger Ver, and in the film you say the quote is, "I'm not done with you yet, pal," and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And you come back to him, but speaking specifically of ICOs, there's a point where you ask someone to define, or the quote exactly is, "Can you define for me what a shitcoin is?" And I thought that was very funny too. And the definition is pretty reasonable as well. So I really liked some of those.
Yeah, and the experience to sit in a cinema, right, full of 200 people, and those moments are really different when you watch it in a larger community, right? There's the joke that Wences tells about. How you should just hodl and don't look at your coins for 10 years. And it's like a little joke, but you can't really retell it. And when you watch it alone, maybe it's not that funny. But in a group, there's a few of those moments, yeah for sure.
No, and there was another... you had mentioned you're obviously living in Germany currently, but you at one point lived in Australia, correct?
Yeah, no, I'm based in Australia, but I'm stuck here because we did this global cinema tour, and I kind of got stuck after 4 or 5 events here in Europe. And this is my hometown here, and I'm fine, and everything is good. So I'm staying at my mother's place. But yeah.
Okay, I do have. There's another, in my opinion, very funny portion of the film was the ending. And during the ending, as the credits start rolling, there's this wonderful song that starts playing. And I have to imagine it was intentional, but one of the lines of the ending credits song was, "I don't want to cause a ripple." And was that intentionally chosen to obviously throw, I don't know, maybe throw a little shade towards XRP and Ripple, or was that just a fluke?
So I admit I did write these lyrics. That's true. Let me just a second quote the entire thing.
Oh, so this was intentional. Yes,
that's amazing.
Nice pickup, Chamber.
Yeah, so the second verse of this is, this one plays chess at his desk, poses for the press. The price of his coin just tripled. I just stare into the ether and take a breather because I don't want to cause a ripple. So yeah, that's like, it just rhymes with triple.
So you wrote that.
Yeah, I did. It's a fun little thing. We're still working on a little music video that hopefully maybe next week we can release, because I think that's a great fun little song. We did this with the first film as well, where like the end song is kind of like a special moment. In the film.
That Chamber, great catch. I mean, that's like a hidden gem.
I was just I just happened to be listening. I'm like, this is fantastic. I'm like. It was so, and you know what? I think I may have heard Ether as well as I was kind of, signing out, and I'm like, oh, and then I think that's when I caught the Ripple portion. I'm like, I don't want to cause a ripple. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, that's great. So that's
and another thing about the end credits, though. It's literally 2 minutes of names popping up, and what I really maybe want to get across here as a content maker, and I'm sure you have a team behind you as well that do graphics and engineering or whatnot, or
sure.
hosting, but like a filmmaking process. So this was shot on 4 continents with different crews over 2 years. There's tons of animators and graphic artists, and you have to look at all the names there. It's just incredible. And then even when we hit the ground, let's say in San Francisco, right, on the ground, then there's people who let us into the office to shoot a little bit here, or that help us out with the location and things like that. So it looks like, oh, Torsten is on an ego trip, and because I'm the character and I'm the director, right? But still, this is a team effort. And also, of course, the Kickstarter supporters, right? There were 200 plus people who supported this early 2 years ago. And that's something I did want to.
That's very cool. So, going a little bit beyond the actual content of the film, what is the plan for, actual distribution of it? So, now, obviously, unfortunately, your cinema tour has been put on hold because of, the current pandemic. So what is kind of the distribution and launch project for the film and things like that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we indeed, the original plan was to do these events, and Melbourne and Berlin were good examples of these. So 200, 300 people, sold out cinema. We had, I think in Berlin, like 19 different corporate sponsors, or like sponsors that helped us put that event together. The entire community came together. There was a little bit of debate, that bar owner was there, but also the blockchain guy who had a fight with him, was there. So it was like a fun little get together, and it's different from a regular meetup, right? It's so different to go to a cinema. But since that's not happening, and since everybody is bored at home at the moment, I decided to launch the film online. So it's available now at cryptopiafilm.com for, in US terms, I think $50 or something like that. Look, I need to monetize this. This was a hugely expensive thing to put together. I haven't been paid for 2 years. It's been very, very hard. And after the video on demand, I think, again, it will go to television channels pretty much all over the world. So we already have a German TV slot end of the year. And what the TV channels do is, so as you can imagine, TV watching is usually by people who are a lot older. So they are not so much into the technology. So what they need is like a 52 shortened version. They need it dumbed down a little and not so complicated, not so fast. So it will be a different film. But that's how you reach millions and millions of people all over the world, by being a little bit flexible with
That's very interesting. I didn't ever even occur to me that happens. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, we definitely would recommend people go watch it. So where, I think I might have missed it, where can they actually find it today after they hear this?
cryptopiafilm.com, and it's a super easy, one-click kind of order. I do get a little bit of heat, rightfully so, because it's not available for crypto with your Lightning network, and that's a fair criticism, and I get it. And people, shitpost at me on Twitter, but there's actually a reason behind it. So this film is one of a very select, short list of films that are qualified for the Academy Awards, and that is actually that works with special film festivals that are kind of like our feeder. It's like a feeding system into the Academy Awards, and that particular festival that we are now an official selection with is in New Zealand. So I, at the moment, cannot sell that film in New Zealand until that festival happens. Okay, so obviously with crypto, you can't really geofence, right? You can't restrict a country. That's the point of crypto. But I don't want to lose that status. It's a very big deal for filmmakers. So I do apologize. Credit cards and PayPal only. And I know we want to get rid of these things, but it is
interesting. Yeah. So, we hope that you win the Academy Award for this,
Absolutely.
Right, Saber?
Honestly, we'll put out a little request. If you do happen to win the Academy Award and win an Oscar, maybe a 3 to 5 minute dedication to us would be, appropriate. I'm not sure.
Just a short 3 to 5 minutes.
Maybe I can rap on the stage as well for you guys.
I do have a question for you.
Well, you can already write lyrics. We know that.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. I do have a question, though. Just from a director's point of view, you have the vast majority of the world's population right now kind of stuck at home watching all sorts of Netflix and Amazon Prime and all these different streaming services. What is it like now? You'd mentioned with your film, obviously you can get it from your website. We'll make sure we have a link to that in the show notes. But what is it like? Maybe elaborate a little bit on the process of maybe getting it to a Netflix or an Amazon Prime. Like, what are the pitfalls? What are some of the maybe negative aspects of having it on a streaming service like that, or is it just positives? I don't know.
Yeah, so the positive side is obviously, hundreds of millions of people are using these services, so that's good. The downside is, those platforms are middlemen, and we kind of want to get rid of middlemen. We want to hopefully support the filmmakers directly and not, give a donation to Apple or Facebook or Amazon because they take 50% of the cut, right? But having said that, though, I think we will launch on Amazon and iTunes and these platforms relatively soon. At the moment, it's my website only. And a small side note on Amazon Prime. So the Amazon Prime payout. So if you watch a film, independent documentary on Amazon Prime, the content owner gets about 1 or 2 US cents.
Wow.
So it's virtually nothing, right? And I just told you, on my website, I'm selling it for $5.
Huge difference
at the moment. And that's a huge difference. But in a way, we content makers also can't live completely without them. I'm sure your podcast is kind of distributed through other services as well, but I think you keep your revenues, your Patreon, if you have them, or your ads yourself. So that's a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. That reminds me.
I feel like we do make
music
about
industry.
I was going to say we do make about a penny a show, I would say.
yeah. Well, but that's for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not because we're sharing it with anybody.
That's 100% of the profits.
That's our going rate, is a penny a show. But no, that sounds a lot like, the music industry as well. It reminds me of when, I don't know, years and years ago, maybe 10 years ago or something, I remember Radiohead decided, hey, we're not going to put an album out through our label. We're going to just put it out through our website and sell it, cheaper. And they did tons and tons of revenue that way. But
I also feel like, just speaking for myself, for the content that I'm looking for, I've been finding that I have no problem going directly to the source to get the documentary. Like, there's a documentary filmmaker that I like that's been doing it the same way. It's a little bit more on the not supernatural, but a little bit more of the. He's essentially investigating disappearances in the the national parks of North America. And yeah, he decided to make his film, and they're extremely well produced. But he sells it directly from his site, and I've purchased 2 of his films. I just purchased, what did I just purchase? Oh, for different reasons, Louis C.K. I guess didn't get a streaming platform, but I wanted to see his new stand-up special, and I bought it directly from from his website. And again, quality was fantastic. The comedy was good as well. But yeah, I think a lot of people now, if they're looking for particular content, absolutely have no problem going direct to the manufacturer, if you will.
And maybe what will happen is similar to the music industry, and that was actually a very good comment, because now those guys make money not by selling music but by touring, right? And maybe in half a year's time, when I come over stateside, my film will be free on YouTube by that time. I don't know, but we can do a local event with your community and get people together and have like a few sponsors on board and sell some tickets and
Coin HQ viewing party.
I like it. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So where are you actually based? I totally forgot to ask you.
So Chamber's actually in Canada, and I am in the Northeast around New York. I'm about an hour from New York City. So funny, Chamber and I have actually never met in real life. So it's same thing. We met on Twitter through crypto and hit it off and started a podcast. So we, when you make the point that crypto is global and can bring people together, that's how we came together pretty much. So we've actually never met in real life.
Yeah, he's literally my only friend.
We've been doing this show for just about 2 years now, and we've never met.
Wow. Very cool story, though. That's so great about the internet, right? I mean, we always shout about the internet, all the downsides and everything, but it also does connect us.
For sure. Absolutely. Chamber, any other questions here?
I have one last question. We'll have a little fun in a minute, but I have one last question, and you may or not have an answer for this. Again, just a part of the movie, a scene of the movie that I absolutely just laughed out loud, and it may have been unintentional, and I think this was unintentional, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit, or maybe it was a scene that was cut a little short, so I'm missing some of it. I forget exactly what you're talking about, but it's a shot where you're looking directly into the camera and you're discussing something, and about 3/4 of the way through the discussion, you bring this massive soup bowl, I think it's a soup bowl, in front of you, and you're about to start eating. And there's there was no discussion of the bowl, and he just kind of shot, it was cut, and then you're in another scene. I couldn't stop thinking about the size of the bowl, what was in the bowl. I don't know if you caught this, but
I did not. I didn't catch it.
It was fantastic,
this is
and I couldn't.
So funny.
I laughed out loud. So do you know the scene that I'm talking about, or am I just?
Yes, 100%. Actually, somebody in Berlin noticed it, and literally, so they asked me exactly the same question, and literally 150 people in the room turned to him and was like, "What the fuck is that question?" and I had to think about it. So I answered it before. So the thing is, a lot of the film production is very deliberate, like even like books in the background, right. Or it's small. It's just a very thoughtful. But this one wasn't. This one was just, we're shooting in the boardroom. It's getting late. People are getting tired, and I'm delivering this line, 10 times, let's say, right? And then the DOP, so the camera guy is like, do something more interesting with your hands. And then there was just this bowl of nuts, and you have the spoon and put the nuts in your hands and then eat, right? And so, but the way the timing worked, you don't know what this is. It really looks like I'm eating a soup, but then of course
it looks like a cauldron of soup.
That's really funny that you and one other guy in Berlin
amazing
thought that was funny enough.
I wrote it down. I'm like, what was in the bowl?
Oh my goodness. All right, so I think we've got a really good grasp of what the film is and the direction and everything like that, and how to find it. So we wanted to have a little fun with you here at the end before we wrap up. And being a director, obviously this is a documentary, but if it wasn't, we want to know who you would cast as some of these characters. So we'll go through a couple that were in the film and see who you would cast as actors if they were actually playing in a non-documentary. So, Chamber, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I do. I'll start off. I'm going to start off with Andreas. If you had to kind of celebrity cast your the dramatization of this film, who would be playing Andreas?
Wow. I think I'm going to struggle with answering all of these because first of all, I'm not so familiar with the acting world, and also it's like so tough, right? Do you go for someone who looks alike, or do you go for someone who you think is that smart and dedicated? It's so hard.
I would say Andreas would insist that he plays himself.
Who would play it? Who would you?
Which goes back to a line in the film, right? With the big brains and big egos, right? A lot of these people have super sized egos, and they absolutely want to be the Hollywood.
Sure, I think of. I mean, Roger Ver sticks out to me with that, and Craig Wright, obviously. When Craig Wright's just pulling out his patents, I thought that was pretty funny. But Chamber, who would you put as Andreas?
That is a good question. He's got a definite look to him. I mean, are we opposed to just casting Nicolas Cage for every single character in this film?
Ooh, Nicolas Cage could play him.
Bad,
yeah. How about Craig Wright? Chamber, what do you think?
Well, I think we asked this question. I forget who. I don't know if it was Craig. We had Craig Wright's sister on the show, and I believe she gave a good answer to this one. I think it was her.
Because they're working on a fictionalized version of his story.
Yes, right. we made her commit to putting us in it, so we're still waiting for the call now.
Still waiting. But I believe she said Charlie Sheen. I think it was her that said it.
That would be a good one.
And it is a good. I could see it. I could see Charlie Sheen as Craig Wright. Every time I see him now, I think about him.
Yeah. And by the way, we should. I mean, otherwise your audience will be either confused or upset for why do you put Craig Wright in that show? But I mean, first of all, he's an entertaining character, and he's kind of I wouldn't say he's a mover in the industry in some way. But I did not really go into the whole Satoshi story. That is a complete different film.
It could be a whole different.
I let other people. Yeah, I let other people, say what they think about it, and I do state the fact, that what happened with the BBC and da. But so the reason why I did want to have him on is the patent thing, because no one else in the whole industry has that play. His play, I think the line in the script is, I finally understand Craig's play is a patent play. Some even say he's a patent troll. Right. And then he pulls out these hundreds of patents and shows them to me. So I think that is at least interesting, right?
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting where he's talking about how he almost has more patents than Thomas Edison. Yep. Is that what he says?
Yep. Yes.
And he was like 10 away. I'm like, holy cow.
The guy's no fooling around.
Yeah.
Well, I love the fact that he references the Simpsons episode where Homer tries to become Thomas Edison, and I'm like, I remember that specifically. So the fact that he kind of used this, I'm a huge
now
Simpsons
like
fan.
Craig Wright
a little bit more. I like them. I mean, at least now we can sit down, discuss the nuances of different Simpsons episodes. So I mean, that's something.
All right. So hold on. We can answer. I bet Torsten can answer this one at least. Who would play you?
Oh wow! So first of all, I would be a terrible actor, so I would definitely not be one of those big egos who want to play themselves. I would have to go back at one of those good journalist movies that came out recently. So the one with the Boston Globe.
Oh yeah,
good journalist kind of types in there.
Was that Spotlight?
Yes,
that was a great
that was
film.
A fantastic movie, right? And the journalists in there, they like always kind of portrayed as like so emotionless or like so matter of factish, right? Like okay, I need to find this out. I'm on this journey. I need to bring this to light, and that's kind of I guess what I'm trying to do. I'm not sure whether I achieve it, but that would be my aspiration.
Awesome. Who do you got an answer, Chamber?
I mean, I like Torstens, playing down the fact this is a handsome gentleman we're talking about here.
I was going to say.
I like. I believe his name is. I'm trying to go with more of a European actor. I don't believe he's German. But Matt, I think his name's Mads Mikkelsen. He played Hannibal in the television series. He's a great European actor, but a handsome gentleman. So I feel we got to do a little justice here for our friend Torsten.
Yeah, I'm more of a Ricky Gervais kind of gentleman over here.
It's okay. I'm Jack Black if he let himself go.
If he let himself go.
Yeah, exactly.
And if he was also maybe a foot and a half taller.
Yeah, maybe a foot and a half taller too. That would help.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop. But I definitely wanted to thank you very much for coming on and, sharing the experience with us. Before we go, just want to give you the floor again to kind of just say any last pieces about the film that we might have missed, maybe what you want people to kind of go into it thinking about or taking away from it, and then just mention, again, where they can find it and when.
Sure. So the name of the film is Cryptopia, Bitcoin, blockchains, and the future of the internet, and those are the three acts. And maybe we were jumping in a little bit too fast into the details, but this is really we cover the entire industry and all these different philosophical school of thoughts and tribes almost. So I think anyone listening to this show, even if you're a newbie or if you're an OG from very long time ago, you're going to get something out of it, and it's fun and it's entertaining. And I mean, my vision for it is to reach millions and millions of people. Some of them have no idea what a blockchain is, right? So we need to start easy. We need to give them a little bit of entertainment and some little case studies that are people can understand easily. If you're up for supporting independent filmmakers, you can get the film at cryptopiafilm.com. And thank you so much to invite me to the studio.
Absolutely, Chamber. We should get our listeners out there and do a little book club. We have them watch the movie. Maybe we'll throw out some kind of giveaway for anybody who watches the movie and chats about it with us in our Telegram. What do you think?
I agree. I think that's we want more deep. Some deep cuts as far as things that you've noticed. I'm very satisfied with myself that I've found a couple of nuggets. And
you did. You found the song, the soup bowl.
Yeah. I think the soup bowl, or the nut bowl, pardon me, was the highlight of my day today. That literally one other person in Berlin noticed that as well. Really, really makes my day. So maybe we'll find some more of those things and we can reach out to you and you can elaborate on some of those.
Yes, I'm very active on Twitter at Cryptopia Film. I'm pretty responsive. Any questions?
Perfect. Well, cool. I will definitely reach out then.
So we'll actually put this out today. So it's Friday now. So you'll be hearing this in a couple hours, and hopefully you can watch yourself Cryptopia over the weekend, and we can discuss it in the Telegram next week. Chamber, any other parting words for you?
No. The link for the film will be in the notes. We'll make sure you can. We'll have the Twitter link as well, so you can reach out to Torsten. But yeah, we'll everything you need is going to be in there. So check it out. Check out the film. It was really, really good. It was funny. It was entertaining. It was educational.
Cool. Awesome. So again, Torsten, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate it. We look forward to speaking with you again sometime soon, and that's going to do it for us today. So until next time, don't get wrecked, and that is financial advice.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. You can help support us by giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and become a REKT patron by signing up for a monthly tier on Patreon.com. That's Patreon.com/REKT podcast. Don't get wrecked.